Welcome back. So a little bit of a news of the day type video today. And there's some news to be had, but not the big one, not the one we thought we were going to get, maybe, potentially, kind of, sort of. They're still trying to figure this out. Here's the thing. So the Hub City announcement could very well be tomorrow. It's not going to be today. Bob McKenzie, reporter, won't be today. Vegas and Toronto are seen as the two front runners. So odds are, if the NHL is smart with this, I know people are going to say, if they were smart then, and insert name of grievance here, we need to have a Festivus Day for NHL fans where we can shout our grievances. Maybe I'll do that on July 1st. The grievances thing is fine, but, if they're smart, they would announce, here's where we're going to play. Here's how phase 3 and 4 are going to work. Oh, and by the way, we just extended our collective bargaining agreement for another 4 years. That would be the absolute best way to get PR, because the NHL right now, they may very well be behind the curve. Now, good news for Montreal fans. Jesperi Kotkaniemi will attend camp. He's recovered from the spleen injury he suffered in Laval. I kind of have to make that face when I think spleen injury, because that just sounds very painful. And I'm glad he's made that recovery. So, yeah, Kotkaniemi's attending camp. And again, the Hub City announcement won't be today. May very well be tomorrow. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll try to be surprised when it's Vegas and Toronto. I would be surprised if it was LA. I would be very surprised if it's LA. Mikhail Vorobiev has signed a 3-year KHL deal. This was a couple days ago, but again, because the draft lottery and everything's been going on, that's what I've been doing all the videos on. Vorobiev, decent player, just didn't quite click in the NHL. And I understand his feeling of, all right, well, I'm just going to sign at home. I don't know if there's an NHL out, but if there's a 3-year deal, probably not. Usually if there's an NHL out, it's a 1-year deal. Maybe 2, but a 3-year deal, I'm thinking probably not. He's probably going home to the KHL. And training camps, July 10th is supposed to be the date. We're at June 29th, so that's 11 days from now. We're in an interesting spot where most players are on the ice. Most players have started practicing and working out, although here in Vancouver, as far as I know, they haven't opened it unless they open it today, but it hasn't opened yet because a lot of players aren't in town. So if training camps are going to start on July 10th, I'm starting to think they may push that back a little bit, which of course would push back the season start, and it may waste away what I had thought might be the NHL's best chance out of all this. I want to say, too, the lottery worked. So everywhere I look right now on every single sports site, both in the U.S. and Canada, I see debates on the draft lottery and how the draft lottery works. So, if this had been a regular draft lottery, and Team E had won, and they'd been the Winnipeg Jets, and that's how that would have worked, the Winnipeg Jets would have had the number 1 pick, I don't think people would have complained too much. I do think people would have complained that the Winnipeg Jets, a team that didn't really need the number 1 pick, got it. But I don't think there would have been a whole lot of complaining being done. Now, because we know it could go to Pittsburgh, it could go to Edmonton, it could go to a team that's a higher seed if they lose the play-in round, there's a lot more controversy. Because we don't know which team it is, there's a lot more controversy. The draft lottery worked. The draft lottery was done when it was done to keep people talking about hockey. If you waited until after the play-in round, which would have been the best scenario, right? Wait until after the play-in round and then do it. There's a reason they don't do the draft lottery in February. So the draft lottery ideally is when you know who's not in the playoffs. But the NHL wanted to make sure people were still having something hockey-related to talk about. The earliest the season starts now is early August. There hasn't been a game since March. So what this does is it gives us something to talk about. It means we're looking forward to the draft in October, and we're talking about it. So when I see how much the channel blew up on the weekend, I think this worked for the NHL. If my channel's doing really, really well because of the draft lottery, the NHL's garnering a lot more interest for the draft lottery. Yes, it's a flawed system. It's also a pandemic. And trying to figure out a way to do a draft lottery and have a draft and have all this work during the pandemic and make sure people are still talking about hockey when there's nothing to talk about. Rosters have been frozen since March. So there wasn't even a potential for trades, and there still isn't a potential for trades other than, I would think, between the 7 teams that have already been eliminated. So if Yzerman wanted to pick up the phone and call Fitzgerald in New Jersey and say, hey, we can work out a trade, I would think that would be encouraged by the National Hockey League. But for now, we're stuck where we're at. So, yeah. The lottery in my eyes has worked because this is kind of what they wanted. It's a one-off. It's not like this is how it's going to be from now on. That we're going to have teams that are assigned letters and we're not going to know who the number one draft pick is after the lottery. This is a one-off. So while there's been a lot of anger and people are still mad about it, it's a one-off. The system itself, do they need to overhaul it? I did a video on how I would fix that, and people still said, nope, this doesn't work either. Because there are a lot of people who think that the Detroit Red Wings should just be handed the number one draft pick. At which point I say, so you don't want a lottery. Which the NHL probably wouldn't be all that much in favor of, since the draft lottery generates a lot of interest every year. Again, as a YouTuber, I know this. There are certain days that I know the channel's going to do really well. Free Agent Day, the Stanley Cup Finals, that day that you award the Stanley Cup, and the draft lottery. Those are 3 very big days for me as a YouTuber and likely for the NHL as a whole. So if you're going to tell them, hey, you need to take one of those big days you have and pitch it, odds are they're probably not going to do it. Now, on the Detroit front, the Red Wings have come out and announced that the prospect tournament in Traverse City has been canceled for this year. Not necessarily a surprise, but still a disappointment. With numbers being as they are in the U.S., I would expect a lot of things to get canceled. Now, on the northern side of the border here in Canada, we're starting to see certain things not necessarily open up in the way we'd normally see it, but there's some cautious optimism, like the PNE, for instance. There's going to be a PNE this summer of some sort. Not exactly the way we normally see it, but I'm pleasantly surprised that the PNE, they go, you know what? The local numbers are good. We can open this up on some limited basis. So that's actually encouraging to see. It's it gives people something to do. Now, there's a good article on Sportsnet. I'll link it in the description of this video on Zach McEwen. And my God, the Canucks, it's a Hollywood/Disney movie, really, with the Canucks this year. And I don't mean that as a joke. In that, in every Disney movie, you look at the main character, and normally their parents have passed away, or something's happened to their parents. That's usually your beginning of a journey with a character. And in Hollywood, that's often the thing. I tell you, the Canucks, even if I wasn't a Canuck fan, which I am, this is a team I'd be rallying behind right now. Zach McEwen, his father passed on May 5th. He had a massive stroke, and he passed on from that. Now, Zach McEwen was handed the number 71. So when you see these players come into training camp, they're just thrown a number. Here's your number, and then they get their actual real number later. Zach McEwen now is attached to the number 71 after his father's passing. His father was born August 17th of 1971. That's disturbingly close to my birthday as well. So, I'm just throwing that out there. So his father passed on, and now he's saying 71 is the number he's going to wear for his father. And again, it makes for a very good article, and it talks about how Troy Stetcher lost his dad on Father's Day. And of course, Jacob Markstrom lost his father earlier in the year, which is why when you look at Markstrom's numbers and you say, well, he's not really Vezina level, Canuck fans are going to get mad, because we remember his numbers took a bit of a dip after his father passed on and he came back, and you could see he was struggling through things. And then once he got it together, he was fantastic, and he was playing for his father. So that's 3 members of the Vancouver Canucks this year dealing with this. And you know what? Again, it is really hard not to rally behind this team, I would think, for most fans. And just as a Canuck fan, I mean, I don't think they ever win a cup in my lifetime, because I haven't seen it, and I don't think it happens. But, boy, this is a great story if something great comes out of this, isn't it? So if the Canucks end up going, they win that play-in round against Minnesota, and if they go to the second round of the conference finals, if they get to that, it would be a great story. It'd be a great story. These guys coming together and rallying together through their shared experience, and it's a way of hopefully having a nice ending to what is a tragic story. Now, Rudy Gobert. So we started this all back in mid-March. Remember Rudy Gobert? Rudy Gobert tested positive and the whole sports world shut down. He still has no sense of smell. So when I hear people talking about, this is nothing, it's no big deal. It's over 3 months, the guy still doesn't have sense of smell. There's neurological issues with this long term. There are people having massive lung issues long term. Um, there are people who recover from the illness, but then you're still dealing with not being able to breathe, not being able to get your energy for weeks or months afterwards. So, yes, most people are going to come through this just fine. There will be those who have long term ramifications. And again, the taste, the sense of taste and smell are a warning sign, and that's right through every web. This is a sign you may have it. If you lose your sense of smell and taste, then that's a sign you may have it. So, Gobert to me is a sign that yes, we all want everything back as safely as possible. The NBA's return is scheduled for July 30th. Major League Baseball's July 23rd/24th. So for hockey, the one thing that I thought throughout this process was if the NHL could figure out a way to come back first, they'd get 100% of the viewers. That's not going to happen now. So for the NHL, it does mean things are a little bit more difficult for them because in the States, people are going to be watching baseball, they're going to be watching basketball. Hockey will be third on that list. So there is, I mean, on the one hand, there's kind of an opportunity that's lost, but there isn't really a way that they could have done this faster, given the circumstances. And again, I think the CBA is a big part of it. If they didn't have to worry about the CBA, we may have already heard about hub cities. We may have already seen training camps on some level already in process. But we're still a long ways away, and there are still a lot of issues that have to be cleared up before players are going to sign off on phases 3 and 4. And this is why July 10th, I have the question mark after it, because it's possible this negotiation continues for a bit longer and training camps get pushed back as a result. But when they get announced, I'll be here to announce it for you guys and update you on what's going on. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.